Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. The next and last major patch of the year for Star Citizen is Alpha 3.12. We've had some information about what the patch contains, what it doesn't, and hints at what it might contain based on what Cloud Imperium are currently working on. So when are we getting it? Well, it's the Q4 patch, and typically the Q4 patch, the last patch of the year, will go live around middle of December before Christmas, as Cloud Imperium have their holidays and they want to get that done before they go off on holiday. Expect the Evocati and PTU phases early December. Occasionally, they do release a 3.12.x patch or whatever .x patch just before the end of the year if there are bugs that desperately need to be solved and they've got like a skeleton crew working on stuff. So let's first take a look at what's on the roadmap for Alpha 3.12. There's a mystery upcoming player armor set for the patch. Cloud Imperium said there's a lot going on with this new armor. They are finding it especially challenging to implement due to changing geometry in the variants. There are community rumours from Titan suits to medical to bounty hunter to pirate to some form of cargo utility type armour. I have heard that they're working on something that potentially uses iridescence for the armour as well, so it could even be something extra to Varani, although the iridescence could have actually been referring to the Talon, so we'll have to wait and see. I don't actually know what that is going to be. They are introducing space clouds and new spacescaping for points of interest and backgrounds for the Stanton system and the sort of gameplay area. So some space stations or missions or points of interest will be nestled within these massive gas clouds with various interesting pockets of, well, interest. It's going to make the universe at the very least look a lot cooler, but some of these might be hazardous and stuff like that in the future. Very, very cool stuff. They are implementing refineries for space stations as well as associated gameplay in a similar vein to that of cargo decks. Refinery decks are dedicated areas in space stations that allow players to drop off mined materials, in this case, to be refined or buy new mining equipment and do all your sort of mining needs. They will have kiosks there that will allow you to refine mined ore. There will be cost and time associated with refining, and once the job is completed, you're going to be able to pick up your order, and then you'll be able to sell that off at certain locations for a lot more than you would unrefined ore, is the idea. You can have multiple jobs at once. There might be different types of refining processes you can do based on the materials you bring as well. We'll have to wait and see. They are improving the AI avoidance system to identify hazardous entities such as heavily guarded zones, etc., and steer clear of that peril. This is going to be useful for AI attacking an area or avoiding stations and potentially maybe dangerous areas in gas clouds or avoiding asteroid fields they don't want to bump into. I hope this will lead to missions where you can retreat to the safety of a space station or whatever from a dangerous force of ships. Weapon zeroing, something pretty minor, but adds to the sort of like customization of weapons. This enables a player to change the zeroing on their weapon sight, which allows you to fire your weapon to automatically account for bullet drop, basically, based on how you've set it. The push and pull mechanics, so this is work sort of to the wider cargo systems, in my opinion. It's going to allow players to grab a larger object and move it around an environment by either pushing it or pulling it. Obviously, from that, you could also discern that it's probably going to be used for missions and puzzles and lots and lots and lots and lots of other things. Obviously, eventually, you'll be moving out systems from ships and moving them around for salvage and all that sort of stuff. So used for a huge amount of things. Cloud Imperium have also been talking about players being able to manipulate trolleys and other pushable objects at the same time, I believe. Again, potentially linked to this are the tractor beam mechanics, which are coming in. So you're going to get a tractor beam module for your multi-tool, so you can put that on instead of the ore tool or the whatever other tool you're going to be able to use in the future, and that's going to allow the sort of like tool to be used for movement of boxes and other small to medium sized items without actually being in physical contact with that box or item. So that's obviously going to be really useful in EVA and that sort of stuff. The expectation is that those two mechanics combined are part of the expanding cargo system, looting and associated management of those things. Expect things like more cargo containers and ships and vehicles to potentially be accessible beyond just the rock, for example, as well. New elevator UI panels are replacing the last of the buttons and inner thought switches. Cool, just a little update. Hopefully more things will work more readily as well. They are combining updated ragdolls with the animation system to make death reactions for players and NPCs more realistic, so better bodies, basically. They are implementing surrendering for criminals. When security forces say for you to stop, then you can power power down your ship, and you can actually be arrested then and have your ship impounded rather than die. We have at least 2 new ships coming in 3.12, the Asperia Talon and its variant, the Shrike. Both of these are Tavaran light fighters. They're obviously just one's a variant of the other. One is a missile boat, the Shrike, which is quite interesting. I'm not sure how it's going to perform because of all the missile changes. They are bird-like iridescent ships. They're very, very cool. There are much touted networking improvements to better communicate player actions from server to the client. This is going to improve positioning and movement of players and NPCs on your client with improved dead reckoning, and that's going to help reduce perceived lag and instances of rubber banding. And we hope desync and lots of other stuff. Cloud Imperium, for example, had an issue where their variable smoothing for that animations and networking stuff and sync for that broke, so it's expected that it will be re-implemented here as well. And there's lots of other back-end services and all this sort of stuff they've been working on as well for just generally better servers, getting ready for iCache and server meshing in the coming year. Cloud Imperium have mentioned quite a few other things beyond what's on the roadmap too, and some of this stuff might make it in. Maybe, question mark. This is stuff that's been mentioned in reports and AMAs and that sort of stuff that Cloud Imperium would like to get in 3.12 if possible. Some of it's obviously not targeted for them, but it might be, and we're not 100% sure. They've certainly been working on it and talking about it though. We know that they want more updates to prisons and prison gameplay, more missions associated with them, more sophistication to their mechanics. What exactly the forms this will take in 3.12 remains to be seen, but Luke Presley keeps on talking about the updates they're making from patch to patch, and it makes sense that there'll be more here. We know that Cloud Imperium have been working on various cargo updates. The various cargo missions are being prepared for the Dynamic Universe Sim to make them like modular and ready for that. They've been working towards larger cargo boxes, and some form of push and pull and tractor beam tech is likely to be part of this, as we've talked about with those earlier mechanics. There are further improvements to planets planned for 3.12 as well. The organic shader and its biome accumulation feature. Expect basically prettier and prettier planets and moons from patch to patch at the moment, while they keep on improving their tech for the latest planetary features. Sign distance field tech for shields, they've seen a lot of work, though we don't have a proper indication of when they're going to be complete currently. Could it be for 3.12? Unlikely, but possible. Something that is more possible is that we could see hard docking with the P52 and P72 to the Constellation. They've been working on that for a while. That's got a sort of like a mechanic where you have to get very well aligned, and then it auto docks you at the end when you're very close, if you've got your sort of orientation correct. Something that's less likely for 3.12, but is, I suppose, possible, is ship to station docking, but we know that's being worked on. They had a functional prototype a few weeks ago, probably unlikely for 3.12, but maybe. Ship and ship spawning has been talked about for a while. I want to haves it. I'm hoping that Cloud Imperium really push for it for 3.12. Talking about ships, it's very possible we could get to the C2 Hercules and maybe even the Constellation Taurus, as they've seen a lot of work over the last few weeks. I think they're very likely to be in 3.12. Something else we know is that Cloud Imperium have been working on some new FPS weapons, bearing FS9 LMG and the Gemini AO3 sniper rifle. They've also been working on additions to space stations and points of interest, their internals and their externals, emergency lighting, areas for EVA and missions associated with all this, functionality to the cargo decks has seen work. They're trying to inject some more interesting bits into the sort of like zones and areas to give them a bit more life. So you'll see things like spotlights from the guard towers around Lorville moving around like prison towers. Now, we saw these a little while ago. I would expect to see them as part of the day-night cycles. Also expect to see things around like the cargo decks sort of coming to life with more social AI moving around. Cloud Imperium are also updating a huge portion of their UI systems with the new building blocks tech, a mining UI refresh, new Mobiglass apps, or at least reworks for them, ship HUDs, and ship HUDs getting themed to manufacturers, starting with the Gladius we know is happening. They're all sort of coming at some point, but we don't know exactly when. We know that they are working on a reputation and guild system, which seems to be quite far along. The mission manager is going to get some new functionality soon. Cloud Imperium have been working on various improvements for FPS and ship AI, things like realistic reloading, surrendering, melee weapon usage for the FPS AI for more of the ship stuff. They're getting the loadouts done correctly for ships, having the correct ships spawn, more interesting ships as part of missions, I think was one of the things they said a while ago. Something I really hope that Cloud Imperium get in for the end of this year is the Gen 12 renderer and Vulkan support they've been talking about for a while. Basically, more scalable, better performing game systems. So have lots of graphics options and stuff like that. It'll be hardware neutral. Very much looking forward to Vulkan support, because then you might be able to, play the game at high frames 4K on a lot more systems, or 1080p on high settings on a lot more systems without it bottlenecking on your CPU, and a lot more CPU threads will be used and stuff like that. Other bits that Cloud Imperium have been working on: NPC spawn lockers to allow for spawning and despawning of FPS NPCs when needed. So this could allow for security forces at stations for the interior, and we know that they want to relax the green zones inside stations as well, so that you can actually run around and shoot inside a station, and then they'll have sort of like security forces turn up and deal with you. But also this could be used for mission reinforcements and more believable movement of NPCs. Also, they said they've been working on some larger scale missions and events, and they've said, we are already in the process of constructing more of these dynamic scenarios, some of which are far more sophisticated, and that's referring to things like Fleet Week with the UEE fleet roaming around. They went on to say the ultimate plan is to periodically break up the routine with distinct events that serve to draw a lot of players to a common cause, although they might not always be on the same side. So if they're chucking in more dynamic, bigger events, cool. Have stuff for us to do. October's been pretty good for interesting things to do, although I do wish there was something more, a fleet battle that you sort of get involved with, which I'm hoping we see very soon. I would also expect to see a bit of an economy pass, especially with the refined materials coming in, but also the fact that 3.11 has some of the shady trade consoles getting removed because of their regeneration of space stations. They changed some of the interiors, and now you can't sell narcotics at some of the locations you could before, so you can't sell things like slam, for example, but hopefully they'll sort this out for 3.12, and they've suggested areas like salvage yards and Grimhex and Levski would potentially be able to deal with those sales of those drugs, or you'd sell directly to an NPC, for example. Could we see something with Theatres of War? Maybe. We are waiting from Cloud Imperium to give us a few more updates on that at the moment. So what's not in for 2012 and 3.12? Well, no iCache or server meshing, that's something that's coming next year. No Pyro, again, that's coming with server meshing. Could there be inventory updates? Well, yeah, there could be some inventory updates, but they need iCache for the full physicalized inventory systems, which would have you like placing your armor in a ship and no more magic bags of holding. At least that's what they've said. Something that I think is a bit of a Hail Mary pass and was really here for not in 2020, but maybe it will be. I mean, it's just a faint hope. So the Aegis Gladius had component access added to its exterior recently, as we saw in the monthly report. That's assumedly in preparation for physicalized components. I assume that's something we're waiting on iCache for, but I don't know for sure. Maybe magically it would be in 3.12, but it would be magic. That's what we currently know about Alpha 3.12 though, and the last patch of 2020, or at least the last major patch. There could be some changes and more additions though. I'm interested to know what you think. What else might we see? Do you think anything in particular from what we mentioned won't make it, or will be delayed until 2021? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Every month we have a Star Citizen ship giveaway. For October 2020, it is for a Mercury Star Runner. This highly anticipated multi-role ship is going to be great for small to medium-sized crews that want to do a bit of everything, whether that be cargo running, data running, missions, combat, smuggling, all that sort of jazz. And it's going to be in-game and flyable very soon. All you've got to do to be in for a chance of winning one is comment on any of my videos made during October, including this one. More details down below. What am I shilling for today, I hear you ask? Do you hate it when people steal all of your money and your house over the internet? I know I do. NordVPN may have been invented by wizards to help protect your personal data from the prying eyes of the dark web, a sinister cabal of technomancers that grow in power the more they know about your browsing habits. The true story of NordVPN's origins are unknown and lost to the ages, and without using facts, no one really knows how it provides more accessibility to otherwise censored websites or a safer security experience for all that use it. All I know is that it does, and that when you sign up to it, the power level of my bank account grows, and I use it, and maybe you should too.